Hello friends, how are you doing? And I hope you all are doing good and fine. So today we will discuss about the questions, the NEET pattern question exercise on photosynthesis, right? Let us start with the first question. A process that makes important difference between C3 and C4 plants is, right? So what basically is, the basic difference between C3 and C4 plants is, right, transpiration. Yes, we all know that transpiration is a process which takes place, in all plants, okay, which is a loss of water in the form of water vapor in the, from the aerial part. Glycolysis is the what? Glycolysis is the whenever the respiration will take place in plants, the first step, whether when we are talking about the oxidation of carbohydrate or fat or protein, the first step would be glycolysis. Photosynthesis is the manufacture of food by green plants in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll pigment to food, and that is called as photosynthesis. So the only option left with us here is photorespiration, and that would be the right answer. Now let us see what is actually photorespiration. Okay, so what is happening in respiration, or we can say what is happening in photosynthesis actually, right? Photosynthesis is actually the manufacture of food in the form of carbohydrate, right? This is what? This is manufacture of plant food in the form of carbohydrate. So manufacture plant food in the form of carbohydrate, in the form of hydrate. Carbohydrate is photosynthesis, and in the process, in presence of what? In presence of carbon dioxide and water and light and chlorophyll, right? These are the basic things. So what we see here, that oxygen is evolved as a byproduct, and carbon dioxide is taken in. So carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is evolved as a byproduct, right? And oxygen is evolved as a byproduct. Okay, so carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is evolved as a byproduct during the process of photosynthesis, right? However, what is photorespiration? Photorespiration is opposite. Why I told you about photosynthesis? Because it is the opposite. What happens in photorespiration, is that the oxygen will be used up and carbon dioxide will be given out. Okay, so in photorespiration, right, in photorespiration, the oxygen is taken in because the plants are respiring, and carbon dioxide is given out. So in photorespiration, the oxygen is taken in and the carbon dioxide is given out. So then what do we see? So all the C3 plants, the Calvin cycle plants, okay, all the C3 plants will be having this photorespiration. However, the C4 plants will be avoiding this photorespiration by the Kranz anatomy, and that is what this process of photorespiration will differentiate between the C3 and the C4 plants. Okay, so all the C3 plants will be having photorespiration. So all the C3 plants will be having photorespiration, but the C4 plants will be avoiding the photorespiration by Kranz anatomy, right? Kranz anatomy. In the Kranz anatomy, what we will see, they have dimorphic chloroplast. That is chloroplast, the granule chloroplast and the non-granule chloroplast. Okay, because why so? Because in the that is related to the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, and also we will see that the chloroplast over here, here in these cases, it will be surrounded by the bundle sheath cells, right? So that is one of the basic differences. Okay, we move on to the next question. Of the total incident solar radiation, total incident solar radiation, proportion of power is, okay, this is, just omit this. Of the total incident solar radiation, the proportion, you can just, I'm so sorry, you can just omit this, right? Oh, the proportion of PAR is, now what is PAR? PAR is actually the photosynthetically active radiation. What radiation, what wavelength of radiation is utilized for photosynthesis, that is what we mean by PAR. Okay, so PAR this is the photosynthetically, synthetically, right? This is the photosynthetically active radiation and ranges, okay, and ranges between the wavelength of 400 and 700 nanometer, of 400 and 700 nanometer. Right. So this is the photosynthetically active radiation. This is the photosynthetically active radiation and ranges between the wavelength of 400 and 700 nanometer. Right. Now we will see, that all the radiation, all the solar radiation of falling, that is not completely utilized for photosynthesis. Of all the total incident solar radiation, we see, that just only about less 50 or less than 50% is the active radiation which is used for photosynthesis. Okay, so of the total incident radiation, right, of the total incident radiation, about 50%, about 50% or less. Okay, So, of the total incident radiation, about 50% or less is photosynthetically active radiation. Right. Hence, the answer for this would be less than 50%. Right? Less than 50%. We move on to the next question. C4 plants are more efficient in photosynthesis than the C4 plants are more efficient in photosynthesis than the C3 plants due to higher leaf area, presence of larger amount of chloroplast in the leaf cells. Right? Presence of thin cuticle and the lower rate of photorespiration. Right? Now, see, basically what this is talking about, that C4 plants are more efficient in photosynthesis, than the C3 plants because presence of larger amount of chloroplast. Now, what we see here, the chloroplast in the C4 plants, this chloroplast in the C4 plants, basically we see, they are surrounded by the bundle sheath cells, which are then surrounded by the mesophyll cells. Okay, and we see, the chloroplast here, in the C4 plants is basically dimorphic. Okay. Dimorphic. So, one is the granule chloroplast and the other one is the agranule chloroplast. Okay. One is the granule chloroplast. Chalk's falling from my hand. I think I need some juice, some fresh juice. So, granule chloroplast and agranule chloroplast, and why the granule and the agranule, we will talk about this when we are talking about the cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay. So, definitely the chloroplasts are also dimorphic, they are more in number in the C4 plants, and yes, one of the reasons also will be lower rate of photorespiration, but it is telling, okay, there is loss of energy in photorespiration, but why more efficient? Because definitely the number of chloroplasts are more, they are more scattered, and even they are dimorphic over here, and hence helping in the cyclic as well as the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay. So, the answer for this will be the third one, the presence of larger number of chloroplasts in the leaf cells. Right. Let us move on to the next question. Cyclic photophosphorylation results in the formation of, right. Now, we all know that photosynthesis, okay, coming from a little background, what we see that photosynthesis right is divided into the light reaction and the dark reaction, is divided into the light reaction, right, the light reaction taking place where in the thylakoids, and the dark reaction, we have been reading this since 9th or 10th standard, okay, or some intelligent people maybe for 4th or 5th standard. So, the light reaction and the dark reaction, right, which takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast. Isn't it? And this takes place in the thylakoid lumen, the grana, and all that. Now, when we see the light reaction, again we see that this light reaction is further divided into the cyclic photophosphorylation, and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, right. Can you see here over here? The cyclic photophosphorylation and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Great. Now we are talking about the cyclic photophosphorylation. We are talking about the cyclic photophosphorylation. Why is this called as the cyclic photophosphorylation? I'm not going to too much of detail, otherwise, see, when we write the basic thing, right, that if I say that this is if this is a solar energy, I say, right, if this is the solar energy, and I say that what this is photosystem 1 PS1 700, then what happens, this is the reaction chlorophyll A, which is a reaction center of any photosystem. We know photosystem is of two types, PS1 700 and PS2 680. Now when we say, right, that PS1 700 over here in this case, so what is happening, the light energy is following on this PS1. We are doing the question 4th, right, PS1 700. Now what will happen? Okay, the electrons will be liberated. Okay, this will get, this will take energy and electrons will be liberated. And also, the other pigment molecules, the other, pigments, the other, see, the reaction chlorophyll A, there are other chlorophyll B, chlorophyll B, and 17 types of chlorophylls are there. Only chlorophyll A is the reaction center. All the other types of chlorophyll, they form the antenna complex. So what happens? They all take in the light energy. They give that light energy to chlorophyll A. From this chlorophyll A, this gets excited, 2 electrons are liberated, and this will go to the primary acceptor, which is FES. Now what happens from here? Again, the 2 electrons will, they will flow down the electron transport chain. I'm not going to write over here, okay, what, and in the electron transport chain, what happens? Okay, in the electron transport chain, what happens? There is a cytochrome complex. There is a cytochrome complex as well, and when the electrons are passing from the cytochrome B6 to cytochrome F, the energy of the electrons is used to form ATP. So how is the ATP formed? The energy of the electrons is given or utilized by ADP to combine with a phosphate group and form ATP. Okay, and so what it is using up the energy of that ATP, which is coming downhill, and this electron will again flow back to this, which it had lost initially, and hence we see that that electron which had emitted here or got excited here is coming back here, and so we say it's a cyclic photophosphorylation. Cyclic, getting back, Y photo in the presence of light, phosphorylation, that is a phosphate group is added to ADP to form the ATP, right, and hence the cyclic photophosphorylation. So cyclic photophosphorylation results in the formation of ATP, right. I hope you do not need more of explanation in this, right. Let's move ahead. In photosystem 1 PS1, right, that is P700, the first electron, this is what we talked about in the previous question, and that is a beautiful, the first electron acceptor, the primary electron acceptor we call it as, is the iron sulfur protein PEA. What PEA, right? The first electron acceptor, primary electron acceptor, is iron sulfur protein, right. So now we move on to the next question. Which pigment system is inactivated in the red drop, right? Now what is red drop? In the we see basically when the PS2, the PS2 is inactivated in the red drop, right? So what we see, beyond, and PS2 is what, photosystem 2 is 680 nanometer. Now beyond the 680 nanometer, the process terminates, right, the process terminates, and we see that there is absolutely, this the photosynthesis, actually does not happen at that point at, in such a great way, and so we say, it's a red drop, because there is termination beyond 680 nanometer PS2. PS1 was 700, which was involved in the cyclic photophosphorylation, and PS2 is 680 nanometer, right. We move on to the next question. NADPH is generated through photosystem 1, photosystem 2, anaerobic respiration and glycolysis. Now again what we see here, when we talked about the cyclic photophosphorylation, we said that ATP is generated. Was there NADPH generated? Not at all, not at all. So when we talk of this non-cyclic photo, okay, so basically if we talk about the differences between the cyclic photophosphorylation and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we can sum up things. And the non-cyclic photophosphorylation okay, between the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we can sum up things. So when we talk about the cyclic photophosphorylation, the products formed is ATP. The product form is ATP. However, when we talk about the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, right, the product form is ATP. The product form is ATP, NADPH, which is the reducing equivalent, and oxygen, okay, half molecule of oxygen, which is liberated. As a result, this this is due to the photolysis of water, right. Cyclic photophosphorylation, no photolysis of water is taking place, no photolysis of water is taking place, because no external source of electron is required. Here in non-cyclic, definitely photolysis of water is taking place, photolysis of water. Why? Because electron is not coming back to PS2 680, with which it starts, and hence the electron has to be returned back, right. In the cyclic photophosphorylation, we said, right, which PS system is involved. Cyclic, we said that PS1, that is 700, is involved. Here PS2 and PS1 both are involved. PS2 and PS1 both are involved. Okay, there are many other small differences, but this is the basic major differences what we see here between the two systems when we talk about them, right. Okay, the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So based on this, what we can see, that NADPH is generated through, we said, non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Non-cyclic photophosphorylation, which are the PS systems involved? PS2 and PS1. So PS1 will be in both. Okay, so we are not sure, so definitely PS2, yes, and moreover PS2 is the one which is basically involved in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So the answer for this will be photosystem 2. I hope you are getting the concepts. Right. So now we move on to the next question, right. Chlorophyll A molecule at its carbon atom 3 of the pyrrole ring has one of the following. Yes, there is a structure regarding this, and the answer for this will be that there is an aldehyde group. This is the correct option, the aldehyde group. Okay. We did this question before, right, that photosynthetically active radiation, we asked how much percentage was it, and the over here is represented by the range of wavelength. Here, you know, this PAR, they want the wavelength, and the wavelength will be 400 to 700 nanometer, right? So 400 to 700 nanometer, okay, and we said that only 50% of the energy will be of the incident light will be used, right? Coming on to the last question, right? The carbon dioxide acceptor in the C3 cycle, right? So the carbon dioxide acceptor in the C3 cycle phosphoenol pyruvate, no. The ribulose 1,5 diphosphate, the phosphoglyceric acid, right, PGA, and then we say, you know, the ribulose monophosphate. So why is called C3 or Calvin cycle called so? Because the first stable product will be a 3 carbon, and you know that 3 carbon will be a phosphoglyceric acid PGA, and that is why we say, you know, it has a C3 or a Calvin cycle. What is happening here? You know, this carbon dioxide will be accepted by the ribulose 1,5 diphosphate, right, in the presence of this enzyme ribulose biphosphate, in the presence of enzyme rubisco, and will form the phosphoglyceric acid, right. So what we can say that in C3 cycle, the first stable compound formed, the first stable compound formed is a 3 carbon product, that is phosphoglyceric acid, phosphoglyceric acid, okay. So in C3 cycle, the first stable compound formed is a 3 carbon product, that is phosphoglyceric acid. So what we see here, you know, the carbon dioxide is being accepted by what? Ribulose 1,5 or RUBP, simply we can write that, or even RUDP, in the presence of enzyme rubisco, which is the most abundant protein, and you know this forms what? The PGA, 2 molecules of PGA, this will get formed, right. So friends, I hope you know things are clear, and you know you are done with this. Okay, the answer for this will be ribulose 1,5 diphosphate or biphosphate. Okay, in the next session we'll talk some more questions from another chapter, or you know we can take some more set of questions in this only. The time we meet again, a very goodbye from this side. Thank you.